Ladies. ABC, you're on mute. Ashok, you're still on mute. Are you
Okay,
there?
I will
Okay,
read.
you can read. Yeah, please go ahead.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Baba ki jai.
The seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. 1. The only real existence is that of the one and only God who is the self in every finite self. Number 2, the only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. Number 3, the only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. 4. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. 5. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand without exception, expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. Number 6, the only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. 7. The only real surrender is that in which the poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with the perfect calm to the will of God. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. As we discussed yesterday, we have picked Nothing and the Everything by Bhau Kalchuri to be the next book that we are reading together. We finished Path of Love, so let's dive straight in. So that's the book. That's the title page, and that's Rano Gailey's the masters and the hierarchy of. I mean, the Western Baba lovers call it the wedding cake, so we can call it the wedding cake. But you know what this means. The photograph of Bhau and Baba, Jai Baba. Oops. Wait. Meher Baba, beloved father, I dedicate this book to the love of your lovers who are longing to know nothing as nothing in order to find you as everything. So I read this yesterday, and the only question I had was both nothings are in capital, but we'll figure it out. We'll find out what the dedication is about. The title is Nothing and the Oops, I renamed it wrongly. Can you see? Nothing and the and everything. Well, sorry. I'll rename that later. Acknowledgements. Maybe I'll read that as well. Grateful acknowledgement to be given to all those persons who helped to bring this book to completion. The encouragement they gave and the enthusiasm they shared is greatly appreciated. A special thanks is given to Rano Gailey on behalf of the Avatar Meher Baba Perpetual Public Charitable Trust in Ahmednagar, India, for copyright permission to reproduce the color chart, the frontispiece, that she painted under Meher Baba's direction between the years 1937 and 1943. It should be noted that this painting remains untitled. I was not aware of that, and no interpretation given. A special thanks to Ferrum Working Box Wala for translation and typing of the original manuscript. A special thanks to Heather Nadel for her work in organizing the manuscript for purpose of publication, and David Fenster for handling the correspondence regarding the preparatory proceedings of getting this book published. A special thanks to Kishan Singh for submitting a copy of the sketch that Meher Baba drew of himself as a chicken. The original drawing is housed by Kishan Singh in Dehradun, India. Lorraine Kisley and Lindsay Wessel helped with the copy editing of the final manuscript, and thanks is given for their literary suggestions. John Dietz assisted with the design of the book and redrew the three charts used in the text. It should be noted that the charts were originally sketched out by Meher Baba himself. Thomas Clancy, Nancy Wurzel, Val Bernabo, Louis Berger, and Dana Ferry assisted as proofreaders. The trustees of the ashram of Sadguru Narayan Maharaj in Kedong, India, made it possible to obtain the original glass negative of the photograph Narayan Maharaj's silver throne used to depict Ars-e-Maula, the seat of God. Meher Baba himself was seated by the Sadguru upon this throne in April 1915. The photograph of Avatar Meher Baba included was taken by Milan Studio of Pune, India, October 17, 1968 at Meher Azad, India, a few months before Meher Baba dropped his physical body, January 31, 1969. Appreciation and gratitude is also given for various forms of help to Lee Bernstein, Tom Decker, Max and Gisela Hefliger, Nolan B. Harmon, John Leiter, Mike Lever, Anita Middleton, Susan White Nordine, Scott and Anne O'Neill, Elizabeth Sakalis, Virginia Sadowski, Dededria Conklin, Walter Overkarsh, Calvert Bullock, Judy Ernest, David P. Ray, Kevin Dwyer, Eric Nadell, Stanley Zagata, and Verdun Driver, who's Padri. Bhau Kalchuri and Lawrence Reiter sign off the acknowledgements. What a name, Lawrence Reiter. The pun in the name. Preface. As God incarnate, Meher Baba is the source of the poems contained in this book, and it was he who titled it The Nothing and the Everything. As author, Bhau Kalchuri is responsible for the writing of these poems in book form. As publisher, I have been responsible for the verse form and the aesthetic design of this book and have been personally involved in the stages of preparation of its publication. It should be noted that this book has been in the making for 14 years. I first became acquainted with the text in India in 1975 and at various times read different selections up to 1978. While in India in 1979, the author asked me to publish his major writings, which I agreed to fulfill. The book has meaning to me in my search for the reality of Meher Baba and the experience of his divinity and as the authority of consciousness. Like the gnosis of ages past, this book should prove to be a source of interest to seekers of truth from all parts and light to the lovers of God. Lawrence Reiter, the publisher.
Lawrence Ritter is
Ritter, that's how it's pronounced? Sorry, Lawrence Ritter. Yeah. Introduction. I had the privilege of serving Avatar Meher Baba as his night watchman since 1955. I joined Meher Baba as a young man of 23. It was in 1955 on night watch that the thought first came to me that I would write books about the Avatar, though I had never written before, having been educated as a lawyer and an agriculturist. My initiation with books was the organizing of the material for God's peace. Since 1959, at Meher Baba's request, I wrote several books in Hindi that have been published in India. The Nothing and the Everything is the first book that I wrote in English. In fact, it was Baba himself who polished my English by having me read the newspaper to him on night watch. The book first began 14 years ago in May of 1967 at Guru Prasad in Pune. I think you have to mute your mic, somebody. Baba one day gestured to me, you have to write one book titled The Nothing and the Everything. The everything and the nothing is already written, and you may have made the translation interesting and expanded it with uh, songs and a commentary. Now you will write the nothing and the everything. This is an important book. I will give you 10% of the book I wrote in 1925 and 1926. I did not say anything to Baba in reply about how this would be done, and he did not mention the subject again until we returned to Meherazad a month later. This was the reference that Ravi made in recommending this book as well. After Baba returned to Meherazad in Ahmednagar in June, he immediately entered strict seclusion and there was almost no contact with the outside world. One night, he gestured to me, get some paper and your pen. I want you to write down some things and do not interrupt. I am going to give you points from the book I wrote. Of course, I did not interrupt. This was in the June of 1967, the first night that I began taking down the points Baba dictated to me in his room at Meherazad. At that time, Baba met with the men in Mandali Hall early in the morning and started his seclusion work. The seclusion period was an extremely serious later phase of Baba's life, and no one was allowed to make the slightest noise that would be disturbing to Baba. Baba's health was critical then, and he was terribly exhausted after the seclusion work. After completing this inner work in 3 hours, he called the men inside the hall, and Eruch would wipe away the perspiration and apply talcum powder to Baba's tired body. Following this break, the other men would disperse by Baba's instructions to their specific duties, leaving Baba and myself alone. Then, from 1/2 to a full hour, Baba would dictate specific points for this book, and I would write them down. The dictation of points continued for about 5 months at Meherazad between June and November of 1967. Baba usually instructed me to write down the points as a whole and then fit them together, finishing a thorough description by the following morning so I could read back to him the whole section for that day. In other words, he wanted me to elaborate on the points given and draw a skeleton outline from what he had given me the day before. Numerous points Baba dictated in detail, and some others he only touched on. At times, I would not be able to fit all the points together or fully understand their relationship and meaning, but Baba would then gesture this point or that as a link, a connection with some of the stories that are there. When a connecting point was unclear, I would have to question, and Baba would scold. Just take down what I'm giving you, don't interrupt me, and everything will be crystal clear to you later. Chronologically, Baba first gave the story, The Mischievous Chicken, whom he named in Hindi Saitan, meaning devilish child or little devil. Then followed two kings, and Baba himself drew the diagram about Raja Sarvagya and Sarvaswa and Maharani Vaikunt. When these stories about the beginning of creation were completed, Baba stopped dictating to me in Mandali Hall and then dictated only during night watch. In 1968, he started giving the points for the part titled by him in Hindi, Apar Vidya, meaning infinite intelligence. These points were difficult as Baba did not explain them in detail and I could not always follow how the points all fitted together. Nevertheless, I took down exactly what Baba gestured. I sat on the floor watching his hands silently moving and just took down each point as he gave it. Later, he instructed me as to how these points were to be fitted together and himself drew the chart for infinite intelligence. But now, he did not ask me to write out the points fully and read them back to him. Previously, I had fully written out and read to Baba the stories about the mischievous chicken, two kings, Adam and Eve, Ganesh, illusion, and others at his request. So he heard all of these. All the specific points for infinite intelligence Baba dictated in 3 or 4 months. Most of these were given in English. Certain points of the mischievous chicken were given in Hindi. The short part of infinite intelligence written in Hindi was translated by my friend Ferram Working Box Wala. After Ferram's translation, I then wrote out the points in detail in English. Therefore, the entire text has been written by me in English. When Baba finished giving all the points for infinite intelligence, no more points were given, and he made no further mention of this book, The Nothing and the Everything. But he did instruct me in 1968 to write other books, and I was also working on these books at the time Baba was giving me points. I kept a separate notebook for the points he had given, and this notebook I used when I was completing Infinite Intelligence in 1973. Although it is clear to me that this book represents 10% of Meher Baba's missing book, in the beginning I sometimes wondered whether whether Baba was actually giving me 10% of his own book, or he was merely passing the time with me in this way, day after day of dictation, to ease the strain of his inner work. However, at those times, he always knew exactly what I was thinking, and he would scold. What is the matter with you? You've been with me for so many years, have no doubt about what you're doing. Remember that I am giving you 10% of my own book. This work is not just writing, it is not a pastime. My book is the most important book in the world. Baba gestured so emphatically and with such seriousness that I had to think this work must mean something to him. Otherwise, why does he dictate to me soon after completing his seclusion work each day? Even though he's exhausted after his work, he still continues to take time to give point after point for this book. It must be important to him. On 31st January 1969, Meher Baba dropped his physical body. I suffered a great shock being without his physical presence, and at that time, I was also at a loss to understand what I should do regarding his orders to write his biography and finish this book. But I remembered his words: take down what I am dictating. Do not interrupt. I am giving you 10%. And most importantly, everything will be crystal clear to you. These words rang in my heart, and I had faith that Baba had to definitely fulfill his promise and explain it all to me in his own way, in his own time. Since the main book that Baba had instructed me to write was his biography, which I titled Meher Prabhu or Meher in the Beyond, after Baba dropped his body, I was completely preoccupied with collecting the facts and writing out the material for over 3 years. After completing Meher Prabhu, I began working on the nothing and the everything, even though Baba still had not explained every detail to me. I thought about this book, but nothing at first came to me in the form of inspiration. The first two sets of points given were straightforward enough, and so I began by writing them over. And once I started, my pen did not stop for 40 days. I wrote out the infinite intelligence point by point from my notes, and in his own way, Baba explained everything. He made each point connect and flow into the next as I wrote, fulfilling his promise that it would be crystal clear to me. And here's the, let's see it in one stroke. That's Baba's hand, original artifact, Kishan Singh, Dehradun. This is a photographic render. Drawing done by Meher Baba, July 30, 1953, of himself as a chicken. Okay, so that's the preface. Now we're into the text. On that point, I pause. Any comments before we continue? Any questions? Any thoughts? None whatsoever. So let's get started.
Karthik, I just want see. I think we should try to relate the content in this book with the 7 realities.
Okay.
Possible. So maybe after every chapter we can.
Sure. So would you want to anchor that part? So at the end of every chapter, may I request you, either at the end of the chapter or as you encounter the linkage between the what we are reading and any of the realities or any of the messages, can I request you to kind of keep a hawk eye on what we're doing, point it out, and then we'll actually mark up this version. We'll put it right on that page, add a comment, and say this is what we feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But others should and will I know participate?
Yeah, of course. No. But I'm just trying to make sure that one of us is accountable for it. All of us can contribute, right? But it's just that it's easier when we have a clear responsibility. We won't miss it.
Okay.
But may I suggest something, Ashok?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great project you have taken up. That's wonderful. But it's not that easy to understand this script.
Oh,
Let us first focus on understanding what was written there. That is our first job. Then we can do whatever we want, connect it with the seven realities or how to love God. It's different thing.
yeah. First, so maybe phase one, we'll understand the text and we'll give it a try to, with Baba's blessings, we'll try.
Yeah. So I kind of echo Ravi's sentiment, not from the difficulty in the script because I have not read it, but from the difficulty in taking one of the realities and linking them in every chapter. Sometimes I can relate to it, but I did this thought exercise for discourses and I struggled because many of them are not directly relatable. Having said that, I do not want to throw a wet blanket. I want to make sure Ashok drives this project. So we will support you, Ashok. Look out for those relationships and linkages. And surely at the end of the chapter, let's try to discuss and draw out those linkages and put them out here. Deal?
Hope everybody and Baba helps me. Okay.
See, one advantage of this book is compared to the language that was used in God Speaks and Discourses, the English language is very simple. That is the great advantage to us. So we can understand much better than how we struggle with two-paragraph sentence, non-stop sentences in God Speaks. Compared to that, this very, very simple.
Can someone help me with the person who wrote those stuff, most of it, in God Speaks? God bless his soul, but I mean, Meher Baba's words, but the editor. No, not Eruch. The last chapter. Eruch wrote only the third, the last chapter.
The whole
editor was somebody, not
Eyewitness and Don Stevens.
No, but the English is all somebody else's.
Urich wrote it.
Missing
Baba
the name.
Said it and Urich wrote it.
Okay, all right.
And last part, Baba gave the authorship to Urich, but Urich didn't know for a long time. What was his name? The Westerner. He's from Chicago. Forgot his name. He plays volleyball. He went and told. Forgot his name. He went and told.
You're the one from Illinois.
Yeah, no, I forgot. His brother has got a restaurant in Chicago, and then he comes and works for some few months, and then goes back and lives in India. But he's the one who told Urich, "Hey, Urich, you have authorship in the God Speaks," and Urich was surprised and opened and saw it. Till then, he never knew that he was one of the chapter's author.
Wow.
I thought that was very interesting.
Indeed. Okay, so let's dive into the core of the text. First chapter, I'm there in everything. During night watch. Oh, it's just a prayer. Okay. During night watch one evening in 1959, Meher Baba dictated the following couplet to me. O priceless treasure of knowledge, you are within and without, and you are the ocean of mercy. You are in all the worlds. You are the ocean of attributes. O Meher, God incarnate, you alone exist. Baba then asked me to compose a ghazal around this couplet whenever I had the time. He instructed me to use a particular. Yeah.
Karthik, can you repeat the poem once again?
Sure. O priceless treasure of knowledge, you are within and without, and you are the ocean of mercy. You are in all the words. You are the ocean of attributes. O Meher, God incarnate, you alone exist. Baba then asked me to compose a ghazal around this couplet whenever I had the time. He instructed me to use a particular meter in Hindi, which he tapped out with his fingers. But I did not know how to write such a ghazal, so I simply kept the couplet in my notebook and waited until inspired. 3 years passed by. In 1962, Baba instructed me to translate the book The Everything and the Nothing into Hindi, and Baba wanted me to include a prayer with the translation. It was then that I remembered the lines from that couplet Baba had given me. Baba seemed pleased that I had finally remembered the couplet. He gestured. Since I alone exist, you write on the theme, you alone exist. At last, I found some inspiration and composed 11 couplets to go with the first one. The next day during night watch, Baba gestured to me. Did you compose any prayer yesterday? I said, yes, Baba. 11 couplets more. Baba then gestured, read them all to me. And so I did. Baba was in an exceptionally good mood that day, and after I'd finished reading the entire 12 couplets, he said, take your pen and write what I now give you as more couplets. So there he began composing several new couplets one after another. Baba sat on his bed and drummed on his thigh with his fist in rhythm to the lines he himself was composing for over an hour. Later in 1962, during the hot summer months at Guru Prasad, Baba ordered me to finish the translation work and to expand the Everything and the Nothing with a complete commentary and several songs. I would do this writing work upstairs in my room in the morning and afternoon while Baba and the other Mandali were downstairs in the large hall with visitors. Much later, I found out that every day Baba would instruct his nephew Sheru to sing this prayer entitled You Alone Exist. Baba never let on to anyone that he himself had composed this prayer, and as everyone was under the impression that it was mine, they would jokingly call it Bhau's prayer to Baba. Each day, when Baba retired to his room, I would come downstairs to attend him. As I was walking to his room one afternoon, several people began laughing at me and saying they did not like the words of the prayer that I had composed. Which prayer? I inquired, since I was quite puzzled by their accusations and attitude. They then thought I was playing dumb and mocked me, saying, you know what prayer? What sort of prayer is this to Baba? Who would pray in such a way? Could you have not used better examples, better descriptions than snakes, scorpions, mosquitoes, bugs, and gnats when describing God's attributes? That same evening with Baba, he gestured to me. What are you thinking? As usual, I said, nothing, nothing. But Baba could see that I was upset about something, and he ordered me to tell him that what was going through my mind. I told him, Baba, we should change that prayer. It is not so good. We should use other words to describe God's attributes, your attributes. It offends some people and they do not like it. People are laughing at this prayer, Baba. Baba gestured emphatically, no, do not change a single word. The prayer is from me. It is all right. You have no idea of the importance of this prayer. In the future, this prayer of mine will be sung in every house throughout the world. Later, Baba gestured. It is important, very important that people find God in disagreeable things, that they find me in disagreeable things. I am there in everything and in every creature. I am there in the dirt, the scorpion, the snake, the elephant, and the mosquito, everything. Baba continued, do not pay heed to what people think. I like this prayer because it tells people who I am, what I am. People do not know who or what I am, and so they need this prayer to know me, to understand me. I gave this prayer to them, not you. You wrote what I ordered you to write. A day will come when they will know this. This is his prayer to the world, which is about the nothing and the everything. So it's
before you start, I
Sure.
have a confusion. We have another book, Everything and Nothing, is it?
Yes, that's Baba's book.
Okay.
We read that actually.
We read that on the group.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a collection of messages, if I remember right.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, it's organized by concepts as chapters, and we read it, I think, almost a year back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We'll read You Alone Exist. You alone exist. O priceless treasure of knowledge, you are within and without, and you are the ocean of mercy. You are in all the worlds. You are the ocean of attributes. O Meher, God incarnate, you alone exist. You are Ezdan. You are Izar. You are Allah and Ishwar. You are Ram and you are Buddha. You are beloved Lord Krishna, who with one finger lifted the mountain. You alone exist. You are the beyond God and the beyond God also. O ocean of kindness, you alone exist. You are Muhammad. You are perfection personified. You are knowledge itself, and you alone exist. You live in everyone, and you are everyone. O beloved, you are the enlightened one, and you alone exist. You are with attributes and without attributes. You are the sole player in the divine game. You alone exist. You are matchless, the only one. You reside in every heart, and you alone exist. You are eternally motionless, and immovable is your abode. You are the highest, for you alone exist. You are the doer, the deed, and the cause of doing. The sustainer you are, and the master of masters, you alone exist. You are the seeker, the worship, and the sadhana. O Meher, God incarnate, you alone exist. You are in the front and behind. You are above and below. O Lord, you live in every house, and you alone exist. You are beyond, and you remain within everyone. You are all pervading, and you alone exist. You are in each neighborhood. You are the sustainer. You yourself are all worlds, and you alone exist. Everywhere, whether above or below, you are complete. You alone exist. You are unseen, yet seen also. You live in everyone, forgiving each his sins. You alone exist. There is no one without you. You're manifesting and unmanifest as you alone exist. You are man. You are birds. You are fish and animals, for you alone exist. You are bugs and gnats. You are snakes and scorpions. You are ants and mosquitoes, for you alone exist. You are insects. You are lice. You are dogs, asses, and pigs. You alone exist. You are deer and elephants. You are cats and monkeys. You alone exist. You are the moon and the stars, the dawn and the night, and the sun and also the light. You alone exist. You are wind and water and the animals of the water. You alone exist. You are silver and gold. You are copper and iron. You are brass and stone. You alone exist. You are tea and coffee and the sugar also. You alone exist. You are paper and the book. You are the school and office. You alone exist. You are pen and ink, and you are the gifted writer. You alone exist. You are the door and window. You are the marble floor. You alone exist. You are the medicine and the disease, and the doctor also. You alone exist. You are the game and the player and the spectator also. You alone exist. You are the flower and the thorn, and you are the fragrance. You alone exist. You are the singer, you are the musical instrument, you are the sweet tunes, for you alone exist. You are the prayer and the words of the prayer. You are the forces of evil and the powers of light. You alone exist. You are the soldier, the army, and the supreme general. You alone exist. You are the sailor, the ship, and the wide ocean. You alone exist. You are the storm's turbulence and the tranquil waters. You are the pearl and you are the shell. You alone exist. You are the shore, the ferryman, and the sea also. For you alone exist. You are the beggar, the giver, and the charity. You alone exist. You are the slave and the Lord. You are the beyond God. You are God. You alone exist. Your mother and father, your master, brother, and friend. You are family and relatives. You alone exist. There is no one besides you. Eternally you are, for you alone exist. You are Pran and you are heart. You are also the beloved of the heart. You alone exist. You are the beloved and the lover, and you are the nectar of love, as you alone exist. You are breath and life itself. Our minds are enthralled by your beauty, for you alone exist. You are the house, you are the inhabitants, and the bricks and furnishings. You alone exist. You are the worshipper, his worship, and the one worshipped as you alone exist. You are consciousness and the way to consciousness. O Meher, God incarnate, you alone exist. You are Khwaja, you are Qutub, you are Pir and Kalandar. You alone exist. You are Hafiz, you are Sanai, you are Dara and Alexander. You alone exist. You are Jesus Christ, you are Ilahi, you're the ocean, infinite and pure. You alone exist. You are the Quran and the one who prays. You are Wali and you are the messenger, and you alone exist. You are the beginning and you are the end, and you're also beyond the beginning and beyond the end. You alone exist. You're infinitely beautiful and infinitely close. O Meher, God incarnate, You alone exist. You are Brahma and you are Vishnu. You're the guileless Shankar. You alone exist. Bhau says, O beloved Meher, you are the word and you are the letter. You alone exist. That's the end of the poem.
Karthik,
Yeah.
before we begin the next part, I think there's a direct correlation between this beautiful prayer poem and the first reality, the real existence.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes,
Good
that was
catch.
what I was trying to tell you also. Okay.
Baba has given me, I was wondering, you have given me such a big project. I need everybody's help and Baba's blessings. So that thought just came to my mind.
The other
Super.
aspect is this is almost the explanation of the prayer, Baba's prayer.
Yeah.
So it is almost simulates that and tries to explain those aspects. And one more factor which I found here was that each, say, poem has 3 sections, approximately, not in every poem, but majority of them. So there is one fact stated in the first line, and the explanation or the flowering of that comes next. And then it ends by saying you alone exist. So the final the stamping is done by you alone exist.
Mhm.
You are the beginning, you are the end, you are also beyond the beginning. So there is a statement, you are the beginning, you are the end, but the next line says you are also beyond the beginning and beyond the end. Then there is the last word which says exists. So something like this you can see in each of the poem, I think.
Yeah. In the actual Parvatigar prayer, it says, you are without beginning and without end. Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, it's interesting. And also, at one time, many of us think, God exists only in temples and purity, pure people, and we usually shun the bad things, all these bad stuff. And here, this prayer tells us God is everywhere, including all sorts of things. It opens our mind where the God exists.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well said. I think, yeah, well said. I took away that part very forcefully or powerfully, Ravi. In fact, I think that's almost unique to Baba's thought and word, right? In the sense, he refers to this multiple places. In discourses, the idea of there's no good and wrong. And at multiple times, right through, you see that uh, there's no morality ever, right? So there's no right and wrong as meters of behavior. He's always about everything. He's always about him being in everything, which
Yeah.
is so special and so beautiful. And you're right, that comes out powerfully in this poem.
Uh,
There's one guy by name Bob Fredericks. He's also from
Mhm.
Chicago. He produced this in YouTube. You Alone Exists. Very, very beautifully connected every line with Baba's videos.
All
It was
right, let's see
amazing.
it.
We all should see that.
Let's
Very
see it right
appropriately
now.
connected everything, how Baba acted in the videos. He connected with every line of this prayer. If you hit
Just
Meher Baba, you alone exist, you will get that.
it's
Yes,
under yeah, it's pretty long though. It's 23 minutes. You want to
Yeah,
see it
it's long.
now?
No, no,
Not
no.
now.
You can, no,
Okay, so
you
I'll
can look
I'll
at
drop
it.
I'll drop a link, and
Yeah.
everybody can see it and drop your comments on the group later. But I found it.
Yeah.
It's put up by Meher Film Works, and
Oklahoma, something like Oklahoma. You see the Oklahoma there anywhere?
No, Oklahoma is another popular handle, but this is put up by Meher Film Works. Oklahoma doesn't have You Alone Exist. I know the handle you're talking about. Oklahoma spelled with a Huma, not like the state.
Yeah. Bob Frederick is the one who did this work. Very amazingly,
okay.
he did this work.
Oh, that's his handle, Oklahoma, Huma?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we'll figure that out. I'll send it to you first. Please confirm if that's the one you're looking for, and then we'll post it to the group.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, I was thinking about the same thing. It's the same video, Jay Baba.
Okay. All right. Great.
The name I forgot about who mentioned to Irich, Gary Kleiner. You know anybody?
Okay.
Gary Kleiner, he lives in Mehrabad. He plays volleyball with everybody. It's very scary to play with him. You won't leave anybody if you don't play well.
Okay.
Regarding the point that Baba stresses on good and bad being almost same, or saint or sinner, all that. So if we think on those lines, so the play that we play in this world is all because of the sanskaras. So the sanskaras give you the say the way to go about in life. You don't have a perfect say control over that. So you have to play that role because of the sanskaras that you have brought with you. So in that sense, you are always the purest. You are always the God. You are playing only the sanskaras, which is the baggage that you are carrying with you. That's how I look at it. Jai Baba.
Mamaji, just to add to what you said, so basically we are all the pure inner soul, our innermost loving selves, but we have got the dust of sanskaras over us. Jai Baba.
Yeah.
I've just dropped it on your Telegram one-on-one, Ravi. Please take a look at it and confirm if that's the one. The description seems to suggest it is. It does talk about Bob Fredericks and Peter Nordin.
Yeah,
Bob Fredericks being the person putting the video together, but it is not Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's okay. Bob Fredericks
Cool.
is the one who did it. Yeah, that's it.
All right, cool. So with that, we go to probably the first one, which is the mischievous chicken. Saitan Murgi Ka Bacha, mischievous child of the hen. When I was 5 years old, I saw circles within circles.
Sorry.
What, Ashok?
I can't see the screen. So
can you display
I'm
the?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. So this is the part on the mischievous chicken. Saitan Murgi Ka Bacha, mischievous child of the hen. When I was 5 years old, I saw circles within circles before me of shining lights and of various brilliant colors. I was dazed and fainted at the time. And my mother revived me. I have explained all of it in my book in detail. Meher Baba. Okay. Oh, so there's a part which is called the mischievous chicken, and there's a chapter which is called the mischievous chicken. But the first chapter here is the ocean. This is again a poem, I guess. I do a bad job of reading poems, so if anybody wants to read a poem, feel free.
No, it's a free reading. You
Okay.
can read freely. It's poetic in a poetic way, but very simple
Yeah, I'm
language.
not. I'm not very good on reading
No, you don't
poems,
have
but
to
I
sing.
try.
Just read as it is.
So even reading them, there are people who do a much better job. You know. Okay, the ocean. There is an ocean which has no shore. That ocean is so shoreless that there is no shore, even to its shorelessness. That ocean is so infinite that there is no end to its infinity. That infinite and shoreless ocean is eternally calm and still. That ocean is the ocean of knowledge. The basis of the existence of this divine infinite knowledge is knowledge itself, intelligence itself. This infinite knowledge is totally natural and self existent. In this infinite knowledge is immersed infinite ignorance. The existence of infinite ignorance is based on infinite knowledge for the existence of infinite knowledge. I'll read that line again. The existence of infinite ignorance is based on infinite knowledge, for the existence of infinite knowledge is not based on infinite ignorance. Infinite knowledge is completely and absolutely still and calm in the original state of the ocean. But in that ocean, all opposites are one. In that divine ocean, infinite knowledge is infinitely infinite ignorance, and infinite ignorance is infinitely infinite knowledge. That is, consciousness and unconsciousness are one. Knowledge is everything, and ignorance is nothing. Therefore, in the original state of the ocean, the beyond of God, everything is nothing and nothing is everything. Before the beginningless beginning, before consciousness arose, infinite knowledge did not know anything, and infinite ignorance also did not know anything. But ignorance, being ignorant, knew that it was nothing. Ignorance could not know anything because it had nothing to know, and therefore it was nothing. The nothing.
This, I think we
Yeah,
should stop here for a second.
sure.
It's a very simple idea, right? So before we know something, before that, we have no knowledge. Let's say we are learning to bicycle, and before we know how to bicycle, we know how that there are people who are bicycling, but we don't know how to do it. But we have some information, so we are ignorant of bicycle riding. So with that intention, we practice, we go forward, we practice, and then at one point of time, we become expert in bicycling. Now the ignorance is removed and the knowledge comes in. That, as I think, as simple as that. That's what it says here.
Hello,
Karthik,
we
are
are
you there?
immersed in. Uh,
I'm sorry, I started reading on mute. Apologies.
whoa,
Thanks for thanks for pointing it out. So I continued actually, given that nobody else responded. So knowledge did not know anything, while ignorance knew that it was nothing. And consequently, but only apparently, Ignorance was knowing and knowledge was ignorant. It appeared thus, but ignorance was in knowledge. Knowledge was not in ignorance. When the whim came, Lahar, there was a great stir in the calm and still ocean, and there was an infinite clash between knowledge and ignorance, between everything and nothing. This clash caused an infinite explosion known as the beginning, and the effect of this explosion came on ignorance because knowledge can never be affected. Knowledge knows it is everything. In turn, infinite ignorance burst into innumerable finite ignorances because it did not know. It was nothing. Ignorance was contained in knowledge. Knowledge was not contained in ignorance. Ignorance has come out of knowledge. Knowledge does not come out of ignorance. This knowledge is not ordinary knowledge. The divine knowledge, jnana, gnosis, which transcends the mind, for it exists beyond the mind. It is infinite intelligence, apara vidya. This divine knowledge is possible to attain, but it is not gained through the medium of meditation, concentration, trance, fasting, penance, or prayer. This intelligence is gained only through the grace of a perfect master, Kutub or Sadguru. Okay, that's the first point. I'll pause here again. I think this is a good play of words. Beguilingly simple, but very, very profound and complex.
This is very interesting, Karthik. We do all these meditations, chanting, praying to God and everything. We're all in a dream, right? That's what Baba says, or it we know. But everything is done in dream. So actually, none of these things helps. Only somebody needs to wake us up. Then only we wake up. And that waking up is done by perfect master, or Baba wakes us up.
He is the awakener.
Yes.
Uddare Tatmanam Atmanam.
Yep.
Yes. The grace of a perfect master, rightly said, is the Kutub of Sadguru is required. Okay, I have a thought here again that this directly relates to the real knowledge. Can we conclude there? Yeah, good. Thank you. Anybody wants to add can add, but so that's my.
So we'll use. Yeah, that's a good point. I'll go back and add it to the previous section as well. So, what symbol shall we use to mark the linkages?
Star.
Star. Okay, star it is. Which color?
Any blue. Blue was Baba's color. Blue.
Okay, so we'll stick with just star and the call out. The call out is for saying where we stopped reading, but we'll use the star to connect the element. I mean the realities.
The 7 realities. Yes. I was thinking, such a big task you've given, and how will I do it? But it's coming. I don't know. It's just coming. Jai Baba.
You can see the halo. Your
Yes.
aura is getting replaced.
No. Kidding. I thought the halo on Baba's face. Okay, anyway.
We'll go back and do the previous one. So this we said was
Existence.
right?
Real existence.
Yeah. Change it to star. Okay.
Yes. Think we need to revisit and read it very slowly, one by
Yes.
one, to get the
Essence.
message sunk in.
True. But I think again, ocean may be used by many people, but Baba has used the ocean over and over again, right from God Speaks and the Iota, and in many other places as well. So I think I mean, it's nice to see this being one of the first things we take up here, right? But I agree with you. We'll know more only when we read it slowly and carefully. Any other questions or thoughts before we continue?
Okay, we can go ahead.
No, let's go. Nothing and everything. In the beginning, all knowing, all intelligent, God did not know that He knew everything. Out of the ignorance of His knowledge came the universe, as creation emerged from the unconsciousness of ignorance is nothing but unconsciousness. I'll read again. Out of the ignorance of His knowledge came the universe, as creation emerged from the unconsciousness, for ignorance is nothing but unconsciousness. Then this ignorance, not knowing anything, began asserting itself as knowing everything. Ignorance expressed its infinite ignorance. It said, I eat, I walk, I talk, I see, I think, I understand, I know, etc. Ad infinitum. Infinite knowledge could not know itself except through its infinite ignorance. Thus, knowledge uses ignorance as a medium to know itself. Knowledge in the very beginning was ignorant, and to know itself as knowledge, it depends on ignorance. Once it knows itself as knowledge, it is self existent. Thus, the very existence of knowledge depends on ignorance. By realizing that ignorance is totally ignorant, is unconscious, consciousness knows itself as knowledge. And knowledge knows that it is self existent. Ultimately, the very meaning of knowledge depends on ignorance, as consciousness depends upon the unconsciousness. To become conscious, to be infinite, and to become everything. Everything is based on nothing. Everything is existent from nothing. Yet the root cause of nothing is everything. And eventually, one's mind comes to the conclusion that nothing is everything. For when nothing, that is nirvana or the infinite vacuum, is realized, everything, nirvikalpa, infinite fullness, is realized. The final conclusion must be that everything is nothing and nothing is everything. The nothing is nirvana and this everything is nirvikalpa. For everything becomes nothing in nirvana and nothing becomes everything in nirvikalpa. This is a very interesting way of understanding and internalizing nirvana and nirvikalpa, which we were struggling with last week, struggling with from the inevitability of one following the other, and also trying to see how that relates to the actual God realization. But I think this is a very nice take on it. The inevitability, of course, is there, but more than inevitability, the complementarity and the opposite polarity is beautifully explained. I like this. Anybody else? Okay. ABC?
We need to read this again and internalize.
Okay, so you will tell me tomorrow. The star. I need the star. I need to give the star.
The real knowledge.
Okay, knowledge.
And real existence, both.
Actually, that helps.
Okay.
Actually, if we, I mean, we are reading it once in a week, right? So we have still 5 days. If we read a couple more times, I think we can fully fathom the whole God speaks and this information together.
Yes, and there is definite correlation and connection.
Yeah.
Because the God speaks is the master reference text, and so it is the everything and the nothing.
Ganesh started sending 1 page every day in WhatsApp. By reading that God speaks 1 page a day, that helps also to connect with the God speaks.
Oh, so he's serializing again because he did that once before.
No. He has been doing. This is the 5th time I think he's doing. He never stopped it.
Oh, okay, nice.
He continued since ever he started. Whenever he finished
they are
it,
not in the groups. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know how to get to this version, right, Ashok? This copy. So you can go and update it. Anybody can go and update it. It will show your name. So like it shows Karthik Balasubramanian, it will show your name when you update it. So feel free to add comments and change this as you read through the week and get more insights and move from ignorance to knowledge.
I'll have to understand anyway. Offline.
Sure. Okay, Nirvana and Nirvikalpa.
Can we have any inputs from Kama regarding Nirvana and Nirvikalp here? He is silent.
JK dude.
Sorry, Jay Baba, what is the question?
Comments on Nirvana
the
and
previous poem that we read, the concept of Nirvana and Nirvikalp has come. So any comment from you?
Right.
You have heard it completely?
See, the reference I would use is definitely God speaks. So we know Nirvana is only bliss and Nirvikalpa Samadhi is Sachitananda, self-realization or God realization. And all souls will attain Nirvana, but only a few souls will attain Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Jai Baba.
I think you have to cut off your mic. We are hearing a lot of cosmic sounds that confuse us further. But we hear that. So anything else, maybe we'll again go back after reading this section, Nirvana and Nirvikalpa.
I think every soul, whoever experiences Nirvana, will experience Nirvikalpa. It's not some souls experience Nirvana and some experience Nirvikalpa. Every soul has to get God realization. And when they are in body, they experience Nirvana and Nirvikalpa together. Every soul, not some. That's what I would like.
So that's a point of lack of definitive clarity, because in the path of love, that's where I said we were in the doldrums of confusion last week. In the path of love, there is what you said, which is the inevitability of the two. But if you go back to God Speaks supplements, and if you look at the Ludwig's chart and so on, there is gradation. So there are some souls that do it, some souls that don't, right?
Yeah.
So
some souls get where's the mukti, right?
Ordinary mukti.
Souls, most of the souls get mukti, and they pass away. They leave the body, and the soul hovers around the physical body to 48 to 72 hours, and then they get the mukti. That means
That is based
the
on the
soul becomes
samskaric.
one with the Paramatma. The Jivatma becomes one with the Paramatma. No stages of Nirvana, Nirvikalpa, Jivan Mukta, and all that stuff. Those explained in God Speaks are only for those people who got Nirvana while in the physical body. And everybody who gets Nirvana in the physical body will get Nirvikalpa, God realization. Jai Baba.
No, sorry, that's wrong. Karthik, why don't you go to supplement on Mukti in this thing God speaks? And it's clearly said that when you have ordinary Mukti, moksha, that's only bliss. And nirvana before death, moksha after death, only bliss. After that comes second stage of fana, that's fana phila nirvikalpa samadhi. So somebody has to do the homework right. Jai Baba.
Yeah, but that is within the body, there's a difference. With the body or without the body? That is the question. Even perfect masters and Jivan Muktas, everybody, after experiencing God realization, when they drop the body, they get one with the infinite self. That is the experiencing the bliss. Knowledge and infinite power is only experienced when they are in the body, in the world of duality, not when they are without body.
So which supplement do you want, JK? 24, 25, 4 types of mukti or liberation, or the summary of the 4 types of, I think both are related. And yeah, I think let's go to 243. Let's try our luck there. 243. Oh, sorry. 243. Here. 4 types of. Shall we just
Start
read
from
this?
the beginning.
Yeah.
Don't start from the beginning of this thing where it talks about moksha. So don't go to this table. Go one
Ordinary
page ahead.
moksha. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what.
Sorry.
The first one is OM or OM, either as moksha or mukti. The 4 types of mukti or liberation. Let's read it. Certain well-known terms to describe various types of perfection are stated here briefly so that the seeker may fit them into the framework of the subject of God realization. In describing these types of perfection, the key word mukti, which literally means liberation, is used here to define 4 types of liberation. In the following table, all the 4 types of liberation of the soul belong to the 7th plane. So first confirmation, this is only about types of mukti, and this is all the souls in these 4 types are in 7th plane. First is ordinary mukti, that is also called as ordinary moksha. Second is videha mukti, jivan mukti, and parama mukti. These are the 4 types. Now he goes ahead and explains each of them. Let's carefully look at this. Or, in fact, this was something that we wanted to do last week, so I'm glad we're getting to it now. Ordinary mukti, in the Sufi term najat, is achieved only after death by some exceptionally God-fearing, truth-loving, good souls. And this mukti usually comes 3 to 5 days after the soul has left the body. Since this mukti is attained without the body, the individual soul enjoys only bliss. And although power and knowledge are there, such a mukta cannot experience them. Such a liberated soul is conscious only of the bliss of union, and for him, creation no longer exists, thereby bringing to an end the constant round of births and deaths. So, first thing, it is after the dropping of the body. Second thing, of the 3 aspects, he enjoys only bliss, or this soul enjoys only bliss. And the condition is because there is no body to experience power and knowledge, right? And yeah, so let's stop there and continue to Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Just want to
Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Yeah.
See, I just want to bring out a point here.
Sure.
Once the soul becomes one with the infinite consciousness, there's no question of knowledge or power. Only bliss is experienced. See, knowledge is only with the separation, right? Our duality, in the world of duality, we have knowledge. We have so much of knowledge is going on. In the God state, there is infinite existence in the beyond state of God. It just experiences the bliss. God is. That's it. Nothing else. What is there to knowledge? Knowledge is something you know and something you do not know. So, as in the nothing and everything, Bhau Kalchuri says, it goes with the ignorance. So,
God,
the person who drops the body becomes one with the God and merges, and there's no question of knowledge or power. It experiences the blissful state of the unmanifest consciousness. That's it. I just want to bring that up.
Okay, so let's continue and see what, where, if at all, all three aspects are experienced. Next para, Nirvikalpa Samadhi must not be confused with this ordinary mukti or moksha state. Should a soul reach the mukti state, it does so after being emphasized, the death of the physical body. Such a soul reaches God, but this occurs only after death. Thus, there is an important distinction between ordinary mukti on the one hand and nirvikalpa samadhi on the other, because the latter is experienced while the soul retains the body and thus becomes videha mukta.
See, that is the key point. This sentence is a key point here.
Okay.
First one is experienced without a body. The latter is experienced with the body, with the person conscious of the body. Yeah.
But doesn't videha mean without?
Vaidehi mukti is just a nomenclature.
No, it's sadeha. Sadeha means deha, sadeha, with the. Videha means without the deha, which is body. So that's what's confusing.
Karthik, videha means without body.
Without. But then the reverse of that is said here. Let me read this line again. Thus, there is an important distinction between ordinary mukti on the one hand and nirvikalpa samadhi on the other. So former is ordinary mukti, latter is nirvikalpa samadhi. And now he continues, because the latter is experienced while the soul retains the body and thus becomes videha mukti. So is it that on the point of nirvikalpa samadhi, you lose the body?
Consciousness.
No, he loses consciousness of the body. It may mean like that. So even though he has the body, he doesn't have the consciousness of the body.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be.
He loses creation consciousness.
Ordinary consciousness.
Yes. Creation consciousness. Okay. Got it. Could be. Important distinction. Maybe we add a comment here.
Can you just clarify it again, please? It's little profound and confusing.
Yeah, videha means without.
Either Mama or
Karthik
Ravi, please jump in.
No, those who are in the nirvikalpa samadhi, they are living, but they do not have the consciousness of their gross body. So even though they have a body, they are as good as having not the body, but they are in the duality, living with a gross body, of which they are not conscious.
And they have the infinite knowledge and bliss, infinite knowledge and power and bliss.
That will follow next, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They don't have the power to utilize it.
No. Sorry. Confusing. Two aspects, before death and after death.
Audio is bad. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Before death, after death. So before death is nirvana, fana. After that, second stage of fana. Real fana is fana phila, which is nirvikalpa samadhi, and that is God realization, self-realization, and God consciousness. Under that, you have the 56 God realized beings who retain their body and different forms of God consciousness, no body consciousness. Paramahamsa, alternating between God consciousness and body consciousness. Jivan Mukta, simultaneously abiding in both, just like the Sadguru. That Sadguru has a function, is active in the world, the Jivan Mukta is passive. So, the Jivan Mukta, the Videha Mukta is categorized towards Majzubs, who are only conscious of God consciousness. Though they have the body, they are not creation consciousness. So that's the explanation. Jai Baba.
Yes.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Let's
So
go to point number
Karthik,
2.
after you finish this particular section, I would advise you to do a search on Nirvana in God Speaks and read all those lines. So once for all, everybody is clear now because we keep fragmenting ourselves by reading one but not reading the other. So I would suggest that after you finish reading this section here in the supplement, you please do a search, and there are only 2, 3, 4 paragraphs which talks clearly about nirvana, and we'll be very clear about nirvana and nirvikalpa samadhi, the bliss part, and
Good idea.
and I think the doubt here is, do all souls have God realization? I say no. They have bliss, they have liberation, bhakti, but few souls will attain God realization. That's what you will come to understand from doing that. Doing the search. Jai Baba.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kama. People who get God realization are the people with the body, with their mind, they experience I am God state. Those are only with the people with the gross mind. The people, most of the people get mukti. Mukti is become one with the God. That is moksha. Those are the two distinctions.
Yes, that is
Inspired
one of
by
the
Kama.
reasons.
That is, I never deny that. I agree with what you said.
Kamaji?
That is the reason why I wanted to go ahead
Mama
and
is the
have
troublemaker.
realization. Yes.
You bet he's always out to get everybody in trouble. Anyway, so
Always
inspired
troublemaker,
by
always puts questions. And
he's taken Sunil's spot. Sunil's gone rather silent. He's the one with the provocative questions which will shut everybody up. So,
Jai Baba, the point is everybody attains nirvana in 84 lakh human life cycles maximum, but not everyone who has nirvana goes to the second stage of fana, nirvana, nirvikalpa samadhi. That is what you will read in the God Speaks. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, I think we are almost out of time. So
no,
at least let's read.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Not everybody goes to nirvana. Only with the people with the grass body will go through the nirvana. Yeah, I mean, let's read it and confirm it.
Yeah, let's read it. Let's hold our horses till we do this experiment of first reading the supplement and then reading.
Only people who have a body get nirvikalpa samadhi. So naturally, nirvikalpa samadhi comes after nirvana, logically speaking. So naturally, you have to have a body for nirvana.
Yeah, nirvana is clearing of the sanskaras, clearing of the mind. Whereas
let's read it.
People get mukti with the desires. People with desires also get mukti. But whereas people who go through this involution period from sixth plane, they get the nirvana, clearing of the mind. Yeah.
In the interest of, I think let's hold our interpretations till we finish this exercise. And quite honestly, I think we are out of time, and then it's better that we do this in one continuous shot. So I'm not going to continue now. We will again reread from ordinary mukti, which is I'll mark the page, and go through supplement 24 and then have a discussion on nirvana and God realization and nirvikalpa samadhi. We'll probably even write out a chart, body there, body not there, everybody gets, everybody doesn't get. We'll make a chart and institutionalize that learning, at least for our group. Then we'll decide if we want to share and confirm that. And, I think it's a worthwhile exercise.
God speaks also that the actual test, I think from 157 or 150, 160, that those pages also has this information.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do, a string search. So instead of breaking it over 2 weekends, let's do it properly next Saturday. And I will make a note that we read this in the other text. Meanwhile,
you can also do some homework of all these words, search in God Speaks, maybe to an extent in discourse, and then gel them together next week.
I think
once I gave
a PowerPoint presentation, right? That has got all the details, if I remember right.
Sure. So what we'll do
is saved somewhere, right?
Yeah, it is saved on the drive. So first we'll do this reread, given that we are all hungry to get to the bottom of it. Then we will go to your deck, and if need be, create another slide there jointly and put out the dimensions and the aspects in one final attempt at understanding and internalizing this. Because I know it's better to internalize by writing or creating our own notes, and a slide is a good way of capturing that essence.
Okay. I want to suggest. May I suggest? I think the chapter on death and immortality in Listen Humanity also may be relevant. We'll get some clues and some of the other, dictates.
So why don't you read it and tell us if we need to read that as well?
Okay.
I'm playing Mamaji. I'm giving projects.
I think it is relevant because it talks about Fana Fila, it talks about Baka, it talks about
Baka
Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the first journey, second journey. So I think it is relevant, I think. Anyway.
You have to prove that to us, and then we'll read it.
And also at the end, it speaks of the individualized soul. That aspect is also very clear there. Yes. Anyway, some lot of homework
for a lot of us. So with that, I stop the reading, but I will use the next 2 minutes to discuss and finalize what we're doing with Lord Meher, right? So for those of you who don't know, I think it's only Ravi who doesn't know about it. We've been reading Lord Meher 7:30 a.m. India time for 15 minutes. We started it as an experiment and we did well. We finished 5 days on the trot. We were a bit delayed on the first day, but we did well overall. But we wanted to make sure that we rosterize and see how this can practically be achieved. So I have a few thoughts which I'll put out here, and then we can decide what to do with it. One is, for me, this time is very tough because I get up very early and I try to get out if I have meetings by 8:15, which means that this is bang in the middle of my preparation and getting to move. And given that my role is to open the meeting and share the screen, it takes away not 15 minutes, but sometimes almost half an hour. So that's very, very tough for a sustainable basis for me. That's one. Two, like I was saying on Friday, maybe a better approach would be whoever is reading, right? That person can share and show the screen and whatever, so that it's easier for him. And again, given that we are doing 5 times in the week, and we should not have confusion of who is reading, what's the roster, and so on. Another thought I said was, a person can take responsibility for a week, depending on their availability, and confirm. And like Sunil suggested, even if there is a stray chance of one of the days being tough for him, he finds a backup from the group And then, I mean, it's just four, 5 of us. So he just says, hey, tomorrow I have this at 7:30. Please jump in and read for me. And then tells me, anyway, the marking and the comments would tell you where to pick up from. Okay. This is what are my, this is my proposal. Happy to hear out from you guys on what you want to do.
I can do that opening and closing and other things once in a while, but I need to learn how to do that. I am not so very competent right now on that issue.
Uh,
Oh, the,
since this is your account, Karthik, then how does one
yeah.
get access to that?
No. So I can open the meeting, right? Most days I can open and close the meeting. That's not a problem, right?
Then there's no
Or
problem. Rest works. You know, once
rest
we know
works,
that
right?
we
So
have
one
to
of you will,
yeah, there's no
whoever,
problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Once
So
we
that,
know that who is reading for the week, we can read.
Yeah.
I don't. At least Sunil and I wouldn't see that as a problem. If we
Great.
know that next week one of us has to read, we will continue unless there's something. Well, we'll communicate. So I
In
think it's
advance, yeah.
good to decide that who's going to read it for a particular week, and then subsequently, we'll see how this exercise goes.
Yeah, we'll evolve the rest of the rules. So that's
And you can even
heartening.
open it. You see, Karthik, you can even open it a little earlier so that the rest of us can
Correct.
get in as it is. You get up and
Yeah,
open
exactly.
it. Then you do your own thing.
Exactly.
Uh,
So
Karthik, you open it, but how do we say scroll through the pages and all that?
yeah, so like I said a few minutes back, the scrolling is ideally done by the person who's reading. So the person who reads can open the page and scroll, and for him or her, it's easier as well because he knows where he stopped last week. He knows that he has to read, so he'll be a few minutes early, right? So that way, the roster and the fact that you are in control makes it easier,
Yes. And the
Yeah.
other thing
right?
is for rest of us who don't know how to scroll, or why don't you do a little lesson for all of us and we can practice in our
Okay.
own time, and then that's it. You enable all of us, then we don't worry.
That's another good point, and I think it's time that we spend some money